Hello, brave, beautiful, beloved soul friends. Thank you so much for being here and thank you for being you. I have a fun little discussion prompt we can explore together here, okay? So I'm here with this beautiful flower, and then there's these flowers here as well, okay? And I want to kind of explore this concept of flowers growing into their authentic selves and how that can relate to our healing journey, okay? So stick with me and kind of play with this idea, okay? So there's this flower here, right? And there's a plant, okay? It's not just a flower growing out of the ground, right? There's this plant that it's connected with. There's this whole plant, and there's roots that go in the ground, and they're pulling up nutrients, and they're pulling up water, and they're pulling up all this stuff. And there's all these complex processes that flow through the stem here, and there's these leaves growing, and there's all this stuff happening. And then, after all that is growing, then the flower starts to grow. And it's only in certain seasons, okay? So this is a great metaphor or analogy for how we grow what's in our life. A lot of times we look at the outside stuff and we say, I want that relationship, I want that car, I want that dream job, I want $1 million, I want to go travel the world. We look at the external stuff in our life and we say, I want that. And then we try to get there by focusing on that. But as long as we're looking outside of us, we do not have power. And how far do you think you're going to get if you're powerless? Not very far. And wherever you do get, it's not going to be substantial or sustainable because you got there in a place of powerlessness. Okay? So if we try to just focus on growing the flower of our life, we're not going to get far. Instead, we have to focus on growing the plant of our life. Only from this foundation does the flower even have a chance of growing. So instead of looking at all the outside stuff of what we think we want, because we think when I have that relationship, I'll feel happy and loved. When I have that car, I'll feel respectable and confident. When I have XYZ, we think that getting these things is going to fulfill these desires that we have inside of us, right? Like we want the things because of how they're going to feel to have, right? It connects us with something that we want to experience within ourselves, right? That's why we want these external things, okay? So instead, we turn inward and we say, how can I connect with more of me? How can I be more fully me? How can I love me? How can I honor me? How can I value me? How can I support me? How can I respect me? How can I embrace me? How can I love me? How can I appreciate me? How can I treasure me? How can I celebrate me? And the me that you're talking to is not just the me that you think of, okay? You have trillions of parts of consciousness flowing through your brain-body system right now. Trillions. An unfathomably vast, infinite number of self-aspects. So when you think of me, there's a lot more to that me than what you might immediately think of. You have trillions of self-aspects flowing through your brain-body system at any given moment. Okay? So it's not just the me that you immediately think of. You have all these different aspects of that me that you need to take into consideration. So if instead of focusing on the external stuff, or in the plant analogy, how can I grow the flower? You instead turn inward and say, how can I harness my power? How can I embody my truest self? How can I be my own greatest version by connecting with more of my self aspects? Then you're focusing on the plant. Okay? So then you grow the plant and you grow deep roots, deeply connected with yourself and the resources that you already have within you, because you are a very powerful being. You're a very powerful being. So then you're deeply rooted, connected with all your self aspects, and you're growing this amazing plant. Then comes the season to grow the flower. But here's the thing. You have to look at it more specifically. You're not just growing a flower, you're growing your flower. Your DNA holds a specific imprint that's designed to grow a certain flower. This kind of plant cannot grow this kind of flower, and this kind of plant cannot grow this kind of flower. Every plant, every soul essence within a brain-body system has a specific DNA imprint with a certain kind of flower that they're intended to grow. So if you're this plant here and you're looking over there like, okay, I really want to grow these flowers. You're not going to get very far, and it's going to feel really frustrating because you're going to feel like you're failing. Because if you're here in this plant and you're like, okay, I really just want to grow these purple flowers, grow purple flowers, grow purple flowers, grow purple flowers, and then you can't grow the purple flowers, you feel like you failed, right? You haven't gotten to where you wanted to be. You haven't achieved what you thought you really, really wanted, right? But if instead you say, what's my DNA imprint? What is my authentic soul expression? What is my truest self? What is my greatest version? Because my flower is not going to look like any other flower, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the human experience. That is the whole point of this. 8 billion people in the world, and every single one is a divine consciousness essence flowing through a brain-body system that has a completely distinct and unique style of internal wiring. That's the whole point of the human experience, is to be an authentic expression, a very unique expression. If your life looks exactly like everyone else's life, then you're doing it wrong. If your life looks exactly like everyone else's life, you're doing it wrong. Here's a fun little quote of the day. If your life looks exactly like everyone else's life, you're doing it wrong. Your life is supposed to be radically unique to you, because you are not like anybody else, and that's the whole point of the human experience. We are each a divine consciousness, but without these brain-body systems, we wouldn't have the unique human expression and experience that we have. Then we would just be divine consciousness. We would all just be one consciousness, and that would be it. That would be the end game. That'd be it. We would just be this unified consciousness with no unique expressions or experience in the human form. The whole point of it is to have this unique authenticity. So the first thing we got to do is turn inward and focus on growing the plant, not the flower. Once we've really, really, really hardcore invested in growing the plant, and we feel massively, profoundly connected with all of our self aspects, which, and you can learn more about this idea in my known documentary series, which can be described through different roles within the neurobiological social engagement system, with intel gathered and stored in neural wiring from every year of life. That summarizes the self aspects within our brain-body system. Once we've unified all of those, which again, it's trillions of self aspects, trillions. It's an infinite number. You can spend your whole life unifying your self aspects. It's a never-ending healing journey of life. That's the whole point. This is the whole point of this. And so these self aspects can be described, and again, you can find out more about this in my known documentary series, but they can be described through roles within the neurobiological social engagement system, with intel stored and gathered in implicit neural wiring and affiliation with attachment systems that connects with different styles of brain-body activity from every year of life, okay? So once we unify these self aspects by growing the plant that we are, then we look at how we're growing the blossoms of our life, or the external reflection of ourselves. Okay, we think we want that job or that trip or that car, that relationship or whatever. But as long as we're looking outside instead of inside, we're going to be trying to grow a purple flower when we're really meant to grow this blossom right here. Okay, so what we think we want to grow in our lives has to come from within us for it to be real, authentic, substantial, sustainable, and something that we actually want. Because as long as we're trying to grow a flower that's not in our DNA blueprint, we will not be satisfied. You're going to get that relationship, you're going to get that car, you're going to get that dream job, and you're going to feel completely empty, completely unsatisfied, completely unfulfilled, because you are trying to grow a different type of flower than what your DNA has a blueprint and an imprint and is designed to grow. Okay, so I want you to just kind of play with this idea in your healing journey day. Just kind of meditate on this concept as you move through your moments. Are you focusing on growing the plant of your life before you try to grow the flower? And once you have this deeply rooted plant that's starting to have nice big leaves and a nice big tall stem, once you're really connected with your self aspects, what kind of flower are you designed to grow? Because your flower is not supposed to look like other people's flowers. It's not supposed to. Okay, so just want you to kind of meditate on this concept, and I'm doing the same. It's all about turning inward, embodying our power, and from that space, expanding our consciousness through the miracle of our brain-body system. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day, and feel free to explore this concept and hold discussions with one another in the comments below, and I'll catch you in my next video. Take care, soul friends.